It's August 24th today. Everything's looking beautiful and green. This eastern redbud has pushed out from everywhere that I pruned it a month or two ago. Everything's just growing super well. Yeah, pretty messy around, but so forgive that, but it's the way she goes. Yeah, anyways, there's a few pruning and repotting tasks that I want to do today. So I'm gonna get started with this crispy looking Ohio Buckeye. I don't know exactly what's happened to it. I probably, shouldn't have had it in direct sunlight all summer. It's probably dried out quite a bit. I don't know if there's any disease or anything, but it's got nice healthy buds. Get my finger out and the leaves out of the way. That one's grown really big. Another one down there. So there's 3 nice buds that are plumping up. I think I've got enough growing time left in the season that if I get rid of these leaves, because they're really unhealthy and there's not much green left on them, so they can't be taking in much energy, So yeah, some of them are just starting to fall off on their own too. So I'll bring that over to the pruning table. Get set up here and start working. Can you see all the details on camera there? I think so. I'm under the shade. Got the sunlit background behind it. Should be fine. So this will be a quick one. All I'm gonna do is just trim off the old leaves to hopefully force them to grow another set to last the rest of the year. Yeah, so that's it. So this is an Ohio Buckeye tree. There was like 3 or 4 growing around the yard, so the landlord let me take one of them out, which was growing underneath another tree, shaded out. So yeah, so I took this one out. It's grown as an Ohio Buckeye, but the other 3 that were still in the ground, turned out that they were grafted onto like black walnut stock, rootstock. So the tops of those died off and then the black walnut grew out, so that was that. It's a weird thing to graft things onto a walnut stock, because I'm pretty sure that's where the juglone comes from, right? That's what it's called. It doesn't really grow well with other things. Anyways, so yeah, we took all those out of the ground, and this is the only one remaining. So as long as it keeps growing as an Ohio Buckeye up top, I'll keep trying to grow it as a little bonsai. But you can see the graft point down here. It's pretty noticeable, I think. So yeah, anyways, kind of strange, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I can get some cuttings off this one day and then grow it with its natural roots. I'll just get a little close-up of up top here. So there's the buds and everything I pruned back to. This was the original cut I made when I took this. I think I did this in my backyard Yamadori session, can't remember. And then there's, pretty sure that's the graft point with this weird ring. No, not sure what kind of graft it would have been, but I don't know. Maybe that's not even a graft point, because it looks very similar, the type of bark. I don't know. Anyways, it's weird. If you know what's going on, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep hoping that new leaves come out of here after this pruning and everything's good to go. All right, gonna go grab the next tree now. Also, I didn't mention, but I'm just gonna keep this in a nice shady spot, pretty cool spot, so it can just heal up, recover, and then once it starts pushing out some leaves. Actually, I'll just keep it in a mostly shady spot for the rest of the year, no matter what happens, but hopefully some leaves pop out. My next task is my little Norway Maple forest here. You can see all of the trees are growing at pretty much a uniform height, except for this one, which for some reason has just shot up like crazy and grown an extra like 50 centimeters since I pruned it last. I think it was like early July, about a month and a half ago, I think. I pruned this forest up a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's when I made this cut. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just do some more selecting here. So I'll get rid of this little shoot. Don't need that growing opposite of the big one. I'll keep this small one and get rid of the little one growing inside the curve there. There's also a little one coming up from down there. At one point I was thinking about chopping it way back and having that come up, but that would be a weird thing. But maybe it can grow up and this can be like a double trunk, you know, and this can grow up in the middle part here, because I had planted 2 cuttings that died off. A third one is alive, but yeah, I'll take those out now, might as well. Yeah, so this little one's alive. Maybe this little shoot can fill in the middle. The big one here, I'm going to cut way back to here. There's a bunch of close nodes. There's 1, 2, 3 sets of nodes there, and then a huge internode up to here. So I'm just gonna cut it right here. Big cutting. I'm not gonna bother planting anything. I don't need any more Norway maples. Get these in here to clean the old pruning point up a little bit. Just a bit for now. There's actually another small one on the inside here that I'll get rid of too. Just get rid of this big leaf. Try and open up the center of the forest a little bit. Okay, that's enough for that one. This one here can continue like that, but there's 2 small shoots at the bottom. Take out the one growing to the inside. This one's the cutting with the small little growth this year. Up here I got some more decisions. Definitely gonna get rid of this one that grows towards the center of the forest. And then this is kind of a weird one. There's just, oops, hitting the camera. There's just a really long internode here. There's not much going on. Not very interesting. And then it's just overhanging the side of the pot for no real reason. So I'll just take that off rough for now. And then clean it up. It's a bit rough looking, but oh well. I'll keep this little shoot. Get rid of this one. Clean up that stub. That's good for that one. The skinny one in the middle, I'm not going to do anything with. Hopefully that'll just grow out and get a little bit thicker. And yeah, same with the top of that small one and the cutting. Don't need to do anything with those. This one over here, get rid of the little one growing towards the middle. And I think, yeah, that's a little too boring. Maybe there will be another bud that develops around here and goes a different direction, so I'll just chop it off to there for now, because I didn't want two, you know, branches growing out the exact same direction from the same spot. So that's it for the pruning on this one. This, you know, the primary tree in this forest, can't really see the bottom, can you? Primary tree in this forest is pretty cool. It's just growing in an old wet wipes container for now that's falling apart. So I'm gonna put it into a proper bonsai training pot next year, hopefully. I need to find some proper pots. I was planning on making some this year, but never found the time. Maybe I can still do one or two before the end of the year, but that'll be a problem for next year me to figure out. Okay, that's enough for this forest. I think, you know, the front of it should be something like that, probably. Maybe that, so you can see everything. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, next up is my other Norway maple forest. This is the bigger one. Yeah, so it's gotten a little bit tall. I think I want to keep the overall height to something like here. So a slightly rounded shape this way, maybe a little bit taller, and then just do some branch selection lower down, and that'll be that. I think the smaller ones around the perimeter I'm not going to do anything with. Just take a few leaves out of there so more light can get into the middle. This one is one of the tall ones. I don't want it to branch out right here, so oops. These are not the best scissors to be using for this job. Good enough. And then the overall height, yeah, I'm just gonna cut back to here. There's two nodes that are somewhat close together, and then they get farther, so chop it to there. And then I'll get the other ones to kind of match. This one will be the tallest one. It's kind of in the center. I think that's above the camera, isn't it? Yeah. So we'll cut that one back to I guess just right there. It doesn't have any sub-branching yet. This little one, I can select a few. It's gone. It's gone. Old pruning stuff gone. Keep those. This little one in the middle is kind of weird. I'll get rid of the shoot in the middle, rather towards the center. Messed up the bark there a little bit, that's fine. Yeah, I don't like how that's growing at a weird angle, so I'm just gonna cut it all back to this little one down here, and then hopefully can encourage that to grow out this way. Maybe that tree will just die off now. I cut most of it off. Just gonna leave this maple alone. It doesn't have any other leaves coming out, so I'm not gonna prune the top off of it. This little one, take that off. Old pruning stub. That's it for that one. This one. Yeah, I want it reaching outwards, so I'll get rid of the inner one. This one. Quite a bit going on there. I can prune that one fairly far back. Let's go all the way back down to here, and then these side shoots can gain some more vigor. This one I'm also gonna cut back pretty hard. I think way back to here. Same deal. This little one I'll just leave alone. It's kind of grown at a weird angle. Pop it back to there for now, and then hopefully this will grow up stronger and I can choose that as the leader eventually. Don't need that one. Yep, I think that's really all I can do. Should do for now. Yep. That'll get everything growing strong for the rest of the season. Get a bunch of light in there, hopefully get some more back budding, and see where this tree takes me into the future. I think a good front for it is, I don't know, it's pretty messy, but something like this maybe? I don't know, we'll see. Okay, moving on. Next up, I've got my little Clementine Forest. I pruned this not too long ago, a couple months I think, and it's just grown like crazy ever since. This was the cut point, and all of this new growth has come out. Back here, even more, this was the cut point, and well, that's come out. Another branch here. So yeah, I think what I'm gonna do, these ones are a little bit shorter, they don't really need to be pruned, but probably will anyways. What I'm gonna do is just bring everything back down to more or less the first new leaf, if it's growing in the right direction, and the second one, if that is. So for example, right here, there's a new leaf that'll bring the growth back this direction. Kind of interesting. So I'll print it there. And I can get rid of this old big leaf. this one as well. There's a tiny bud forming in here. This new leaf actually is going to come out there. I'll leave that. This branch can grow straight up from this leaf. That's enough for this one. I'll leave all the other leaves on it. This one here, that was the last cut point, and it's got 2 new ones coming out, so I'll get rid of that leaf, and then this new growth. I think the first leaf is going that direction, but I like the direction of the second leaf better, so I'll cut it back to there. You can see how it'll come out this direction instead of that way. This one is kind of growing at a weird angle in towards the center of the tree. I don't really need it to divide there, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Get rid of this big leaf so there's actually, yeah, this was the last cut point. There's this long shoot that's grown out of it, and then there's a tiny little one coming back this way as well. And I don't really like, if that's gonna grow out this way, I don't really like the direction of this first leaf going that way, and it's just a little bit too tall. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of it off, all of that new growth, and just leave this tiny little new branch to develop upwards in that direction. I think that's a decent choice. Okay, that's enough for that tree. This one back here, just get rid of a couple big leaves, and the leader up here can, yeah, I don't know if it will come out this direction from there, but I'd rather it do that than go out that direction. I don't need to take it all off yet, so just do that. And then this one can come up and, yeah, kind of grow back this way. So that's good. Oops. I'm messing with my camera here. And this one, I'll just bring it back to the first leaf, I guess. Oh, there's a whole bunch of growth out of there. Yeah, because I don't want it growing that way. This first leaf, it'll grow up this way, and then hopefully I can get everything, above that to grow out outwards from the forest. So I didn't leave a lot of leaves on there, but oh well. These trees have just been growing like crazy, so I'm really not worried about their ability to bounce back here. This one back to the first leaf. This one also the first leaf. And I'll just get rid of the old pruning stubs. Alright, I think think that's it. Yeah. Back down to size. This is the tallest tree right now. The outer ones are actually tallest. Eventually I'm gonna want this one to be the tallest up in the middle, but you know, for now that's fine. It can grow some cooler shape up here, and then these ones can grow outwards like that. Yeah, so I've got these here, which are the cuttings I took last time I pruned this. When I pruned these trees last year, nothing survived from the cuttings, but this year I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in there that have lived. And I need to change my camera. There we go, that's better. Now I can get in close and focus. You can see that these have some new growth coming off of them right there. There's buds forming on that one. Yeah, I guess down there. Can I see it there? Down there is a new one. Right here. Why can't I get anything on camera? Anyways, yeah, I'll just leave these. I'm not gonna bother disturbing roots or anything. These 5 extras are gonna be great. If all of them grow, then I can plant a forest of 9 together, and that would be very cool. All right, that's it for my clementines. Actually, just for the heck of it, I will put a couple of these taller cuttings in there just to see what happens. Even though they're, you know, they're not woody yet, they haven't lignified. I'll just put them in there real kind of loosely. These other ones aren't even big enough to try. Okay, I'll just do that one. I'll get the bag back on it. This method works really well for me. Just keep the bag more or less closed up. I don't have to water anything. You can see all the condensation in there is just the moisture that builds up in there from the humidity. And yeah, I've got it sitting in a dark, cool place just like that. So I'll go put those back, put this back on the bench, and grab the next tree. It's been a couple weeks since I did the last part of my random pruning jobs. It's September 11th today. This is something I should have done quite a while ago. This pot has been tipping over all over the place because it's so, you know, side heavy. Yeah, I had been meaning to just repot all these individually and start them each as, you know, little tiny bonsai training plants, but never got around to it, so I'm just going to prune them all down, get them back to a nice manageable size. They'll recover and maybe grow a little bit before the start of the winter. I'm not gonna repot them anymore because it's the wrong time of year, so I'll just wait until spring to do that. And yeah, I'll prune them back real short. They've got a lot of energy. Last year I pruned them probably about a week earlier, maybe 2, and they ended up growing a whole bunch more, you know, well into the late fall. So that's enough for this little one right here. And the other small one beside it can go back even tighter. Just to one set of leaves. And then these long ones don't even spin, so they're trying to fall off the table here. So this long one has a small branch here. I think I'm just gonna cut it right back to that actually, because there's no, it's just a really long internode. Why not? I'm not gonna keep any of these cuttings either. The winter creeper is kind of a cool plant to grow, but I don't need to try and grow 100 of them. Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. It died off on its own and then sent up a couple side shoots. I think I'll cut off this one all the way back and just leave this small weird shape. Why not? This one has split off way back here, so I'll chop it there. And then I'll just leave both side shoots to keep growing. This one grew one really long one. You can see that's the old cut point. Grew a really long one and a really short one out of the same thing. So I'm just going to keep the short one actually. Maybe I can make that kind of like a cascading one. And actually I didn't really even notice, but it's also got two side shoots here, so I'll get rid of this one and keep the other one. Okay, yep, that's enough for these little winter creeper. They were cuttings last year and they've grown quite well this year. Should have repotted them, you know, months ago, but it's too late now. Oh well. Just wait till the spring probably to do any more work on these, but I think they'll make cool little bonsai. There's a little side shoot coming out of there. Yeah, the ones that I had going last year all died, but I think because last year I did a second pruning. I did this one, and then probably a few weeks later, a month later, I did another one because it had grown out so much, but probably shouldn't have done that because then it pretty much just died over the winter. Maybe it was just in a too small of a pot. Usually its roots are in the ground and go deeper. But oh well. These will be fun to experiment with over the next little while. Oops. And yeah. That video was probably a little bit too long just for, you know, 5, 6 little winter creeper cuttings, but oh well. Moving on. Next up is my lemon tree number 1. And actually, oh wow, I just noticed, that's cool. There's a little shoot coming out here and a little one there actually. That's very cool. That was not happening yesterday. I looked closely at it and decided it was time to give it a little prune because these top branches have grown pretty long. Last time I pruned this, I forget how long ago it was, a couple months maybe, I took off this side, this shoot here, because there was 2 coming out of the same spot. Yeah, so they've grown strong and there's still new growth coming out of the ends. So I guess I'll just cut those both back really short, and then these new shoots will probably explode. Actually, it looks like pretty much all of them are coming out. You can see tiny little buds. I'll get a close-up of that later. But for now, this branch has 3 tight leaf nodes here, and then it gets a bit longer, so I'll chop it there. And then this one has a leaf that goes out this way, but then the next 2 leaves kind of grow at weird directions. And this angle is a little bit too, you know, acute to the main trunk direction. So if this branch can grow out more, you know, horizontally that way, that'd be great. So I'll chop that way back. Yeah, and I think at this time of year, there's still enough decent weather left for it to grow, you know, fairly strongly for another month and a half at least, and then yeah, then I can bring it inside for the winter. All right, I'll get a close-up here. So here's a close-up of the trunk. You can see a tiny little bud there. Really awesome to see these. Tiny one there. And actually, this is the one I noticed at first. Oops. This one right here, looking really good. Yeah, so that is really awesome to see. Love it. That's what the top looks like now. Maybe I'll get rid of a bit more of this old pruning cut. This one too. A little bit more of that. Try and get it more or less flush, actually. Should have used my better pruners. Oh well. If it needs a better, cleaner cut later, I can do that. Okay, that's enough for the original lemon. I'll go plant those cuttings and then get the next one. This is my second lemon tree. It was grown from a cutting that came off my first lemon tree. I planted a bunch of cuttings last time I pruned it. Actually, I think the first time I pruned it, yeah. And this was the only one that lived. Take that off. Yeah, so it's just got one main trunk coming up here. And I would like to introduce some more movement, starting probably somewhere around here, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaf nodes. And then they start getting a little bit farther apart, so I'll chop it right here. Oops. And get a close-up. Alright, so I think this one's looking pretty cool. There's no signs of budding out or side branching or anything, but I'm sure there will be fairly soon after this pruning. Oops, some good root growth at the bottom. This one will definitely be ready for repotting in the spring after it spends its winter inside. Okay. I think I probably have a couple more trees that need a bit of pruning right now, so yeah, on to the next one. It's September 19th now, and this video is getting pretty long now, so I'm just gonna do a few more real quick. Just some kind of maintenance, because I got some things that are getting real top heavy. So first, this huge Norway maple here has just grown real tall. I was letting that grow out as a sacrificial leader, and I've noticed that, you know, it's just getting kind of way too top heavy, and it's not really thickening up the trunk too much. I think it's done more or less its job. You can see, focus, it has thickened up quite a bit. That's where I cut it back in, I think, April, May, when I repotted it, pretty sure. And then I did a bit of pruning last month, a couple months ago. Took off some unnecessary branches and things. So yeah, you can see how tall this has gotten. I'm just gonna chop it all off. I won't take the cutting, I won't plant the cutting, I'll just chop it and then let it heal up, and yeah, should be ready to go for the winter. Well, I'm just gonna make the chop back here and then get a nice close-up of it afterwards. So I've got the main leader, which will be the leader next. I've got a small shoot coming out the backside here, and then 2 main branches. So I'm going to cut the sacrificial leader off, leaving a stub above this little shoot on the back here, so I can let that grow up in the future. That is a big, big cutting. Very cool. And then I'll take off last year's pruning stub, cleaning that up nicely. Can do it even better in the future. And that's it for now. We'll get a close-up next. So here it is. You can see there's a decent little bit of shape, movement in this tree. Kind of interesting, I think. And it'll keep developing some more interesting shape. I'm sure next year this leader's gonna take off like crazy and grow really thick. A little leaf hopper on it right there. Yeah, and then maybe I'll chop it here next time, I don't know. We'll see. But there's the cut point. Yeah, pretty big cut there. And then here's the small shoot coming out the back. It's just got a couple leaves on it. It was just a bud when I pruned back all the unnecessary branches. Okay, that's it. Stop talking, move on. Next I've got this one here, which I'm pretty sure is a silver maple. Could be a cross between a silver and a red, I'm not sure. Anyways, it's just gotten too top heavy. So I'm just doing this to kind of, make sure it's not flopping over and keep it manageable for the winter. And then in the spring, I'm gonna repot it and work on these roots because there's been a lot of growth. I'll show them in a little bit. So all I'm gonna do for now is just chop it back to here where there's a whole bunch of nodes. There's like 6 nodes in this small area here. And then the internodes get a lot more spaced out up there. So just to get rid of some of that top heavy growth up there. And this is a lot more manageable for the winter, and it's not going to be falling over all the time. Yeah. Pretty cool looking tree. I'll get a close-up of it now. This is actually one of the trunk bases, the root nabari that I'm most excited to develop in the future. It's growing nice and radially. I repotted it this year. It's got more, fine branching coming out radially. There are a couple thick branches. This one here, that are, growing a little bit too thick now, and are gonna need some work. Nice root growth coming out the bottom. So I'm pretty sure this is, like a calcium buildup, but maybe it is, the silvering of the bark. It's a pretty cool tree. It's pretty young still. That's the cut point from last time. For now, I kept it this tall. Yep. More work on it next year. Okay, this is going to be the last one I work on in this random pruning tasks video. This is the first time I'm showing it on the channel. This is the other pot that I received from my cousin in the spring, or early summer. Late spring, I think. Yeah, I've had these for at least a few months. So they're Chinese elm cuttings. There's 2 of them in there, although the growth on this one's gotten pretty crazy. They both need shortening down. This one a lot more drastically. And there's also a little ficus cutting in here. Supposedly, my plant app anyways says it's a little microcarpa, but it's different than mine. I'm pretty sure this might be the ginseng ginseng ficus, which is cool. I don't have any of those. So first I'll take care of the bigger one. You know, I'll just do a fairly drastic pruning. I don't know if these probably will handle the winters here, but I'm gonna bring everything in for the winter, probably. These ones. I'm not gonna repot anything, so yeah, this is a ficus. It definitely needs to come in for the winter. There's a really low branch coming out here that's not really helping anything, and that's all in the way, so take it off more or less flush. Wasn't a great cut. Come on. What is going on? That was terrible. Real messy cut. Wow. Well, hope that heals okay. Rough one. Okay. Cut that back real short to the first branch. Same with that one. Okay, that's enough for the first Chinese elm. That got real tiny now. And this one, I'm just gonna cut back to the first branch here and the first branch here. I don't know if I should risk, you know, taking all the leaves off and more or less defoliating it and going back to some of these closer buds. Anyways, that's it for this one. It's probably not focused very well, is it? Okay, well, there's that terrible pruning spot down there, so hopefully that heals up. And this little tree, Chinese elm, does okay in the future. Same with that little one. And also my ginseng ficus, which has lots of new growth on it. Pretty cool. Yeah, well, thanks to my cousin for these trees and the jade that I worked on a few videos ago. And yeah, pretty cool. My first time owning any of these trees, these three species, so well, these two plus the jade. Yeah. Anyways, that's enough pruning and whatnot for now. Probably not going to be doing too much more pruning for the rest of the summer, which is almost over, and fall. I'll just wait until everything is, you know, gone dormant for the winter and the sap isn't flowing, and it'll be a good time to prune it then before I do a bunch of repotting next year. Alright, well, that's enough for the random pruning tasks of summer 2022. As always, thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Cheers.